Hello everyone, and welcome our sports news update channel. Ahead of arguably the biggest game in the history of the Vancouver Whitecaps. Head coach Jesper Svensson was candid about his team's stunning 2025 resurgence that has led to his team's place in Sunday's CONCACAF Champions Cup final. I did not expect this. I did not expect us to go to. I didn't even know much about the Champions Cup before I came, the former Danish midfielder, hired in January, said to ESPN. Of course, when you start, you hope that you can make a difference and make something new. But I didn't expect things to pick up this fast. Once seen as a worrisome rebuild instead of title contenders, last year's 14th place side in the Supporters' Shield standings now find themselves in second with a game in hand in the regular season race. Without losing their stride, they've also maintained their brilliant pace in continental competition, culminating in Sunday's Champions Cup final against Liga MX powerhouses Cruz Azul, defeating superstar Lionel Messi along the way, surpassing Mexican giants in the knockout round, and all while being up for sale as a franchise. It makes for a Canadian Cinderella story that has reverberated beyond Svensson's Vancouver and into the lore of North American soccer. Plucky, but with ice in their veins, with the Whitecaps to lift their most impressive trophy to date, it would send a chill down the spine of the Liga MX scene that has won 18 of the past 19 editions of the competition. MLS has one trophy in the modern era of the Champions Cup. The tides could be gradually turning in the favor of MLS, and leading the charge on Sunday isn't a glamour clubs like Inter Miami CF or LAFC, but instead a team that's not only seeking new owners, but also outside the league's top 10 when it comes to total roster market value, via Transfermarkt. 90-plus minutes away from history. Can the Whitecaps climb North America's highest club soccer peak and plant the flag of MLS? Pushing MLS forward. Thanks to Vancouver, perceptions are already changing about the push and pull between Liga MX and MLS that traditionally views the Mexican side as heavy favorites. When asked if the Whitecaps' knockout round wins over Liga MX's Monterrey and Pumas have garnered more respect for MLS back home in Mexico, Vancouver striker Daniel Rios didn't hesitate. Yes, totally, Rios, on loan from Mexican giant Chivas, said to ESPN. Clubs in MLS can win at any moment, so the level is very even, not as uneven as it used to be. Vancouver has added to that conversation in Mexico, even appearing in one comic from a sports paper earlier this month as a Grim Reaper. And although MLS has just one continental title through the Seattle Sounders in 2022, it doesn't appear to be a fluke that the following 3 editions have included a Liga MX versus MLS final. Real Salt Lake Academy graduate Sebastian Saucedo, who has played in both leagues and in that 2022 Champions Cup final for Seattle's opponents Pumas, also painted a picture of a level playing field, but highlighted serious challenges that remain against Mexico's best of the best. I'm not surprised if any time soon MLS will surpass. You see it now in big competitions. But it's very difficult because America, Tigres and all them, they have high-end players that play for their countries, said the free agent who most recently played for FC Juarez. I think they're about the same. With improvements seen in player development and club infrastructure and facilities, a stronger foundation does seem to be forming in MLS, but roster constraints that are labyrinth make it difficult to compete with Mexico's elite, who face no such spending restrictions. We also can't overlook the fact that Liga MX teams are 3-2 in this year's Champions Cup Series versus MLS opposition. Nonetheless, that's also a sign of just how brilliant and singular Vancouver's story has been. I think it's both, said Saucedo when asked if the latest results say more about the Whitecaps or growing MLS. But the reality is, though, that Vancouver is doing it in MLS and in the Champions Cup, so reality is that Vancouver's a special team. I don't think it's just the growth of MLS. I think it's a very good team that they've built. Looking back at that last and only Champions Cup title for an MLS side in 2022, Saucedo also noted a similarity to what he saw on the other end of the field. And now years later in 2025, Seattle had a very special group. And if you realize with Seattle, there had been a base to that team, Saucedo said of his Champions Cup opponents. Now I see Vancouver doing the same thing, achieving collective success. When former coach Vanni Sartini was dismissed in November and September DP signing Stuart Armstrong left the club less than 5 months after joining, expectations for 2025 were tempered. Almost every season, we are cautiously optimistic and nothing happens. Then this time we were not even cautiously optimistic, Peter Chimmerman, president of the Vancouver Southsider Supporters Group, said to ESPN. And it's turned out to be the best season ever in Vancouver's history. Chimmerman mentioned roster construction that's proven to be clever as a factor for 2025, but also noted an overarching theme that others have mentioned as an invaluable variable: team culture. What I think is a big difference is that some of the current players, I don't really want to name anybody right now because I don't think it was anybody particular, but everybody sort of matured together into this level, and Jesper found a way to unlock all that potential, Chimmerman said. Now in the front office as a business operations associate for the organization. Few have a deeper understanding of the Whitecaps than Russell T-Burt, who spent 16 years with the club before retiring in 2024. Like Chimmerman, T-Burt also brought up a different team mentality that has been developing.